everybody, and you're watching the Chrissy B Show. Now tonight we have a real life story for you of a young lady who was very, very wild from just age 11. So she's going to be telling us all about what she used to get up to, and some of it you'll be very, very shocked. And also to help us to understand the kind of thinking that goes behind, you know, teenagers' behaviour, and also to maybe help the parents out as well a bit, is our psychologist for tonight, and that's Don Butler, who's going to be sharing his wisdom with us. Later on as well, we have a question from a viewer in the What Would Chrissy Do section, so I'll be saying, you know, telling the viewers what I would do in their position as well. So let's get straight to Shelley, because we've got quite a lot to cover, haven't we, Shelley?
Yes.
So how are you?
I'm fine, thank
Now,
you.
you look like a lovely young lady, but things weren't so lovely not so long ago, was it?
No.
Okay, so tell us right from the beginning, when did things start to kind of go wrong for you? And no, actually, tell us about your childhood first. Was that pretty good?
Okay, well, I lived with my mum and my dad when I was younger, before the age of 10. So from 10 downwards, I was with my parents, my brother, my sister. Things were good, you know. Well, we weren't the richest family, but we were comfortable. You know, we were united. Everything was nice. But then
you got on with your siblings?
Yeah, no.
No? Yeah, no.
No. I think when we were younger, it was just play fighting here and there. But then after a while, it got really bad. Me and my sister will fight, literally punch each other, etc. But that was when we got older, so I'll get to that.
But when you were younger, you were okay?
Yeah, when we were younger, it was all right. So after a while, my dad left the house. My mum and my dad, they didn't get along. So my dad left. And then my mum was a single mum, and she was a soldier. She would soldier, you know, she would provide for us work. She was going to college. She was doing her part. But then after a while, I decided to go off the rails. But I wouldn't say that the fact that my dad left was the main problem, because even though I was a daddy's girl, I loved my dad so much, you know, I was literally a daddy's girl.
But did you have contact with him when he left, or was that like the ties were broken?
It weren't that good, because we would speak, but every once in 6 months. I didn't really call him, he didn't call us. So, and then he got married and then had his children. So it's like there wasn't that much contact. But yeah, so after a while, I was in primary school. This was like, I was 11 years of age. And after, I think when I got to the end of primary school, that was it. I went to my first party with older people. The room was dark.
Did you
there was
not
music.
look your age then?
No, I was pretty developed for my age. I was a bit big. No, I was slim, but I had certain parts of my body were bigger than a normal 11-year-old. So guys were attracted to me and things like that. So obviously I was young, but that attention, it's like I craved that attention. I saw other girls. I never used to hang around with people my age group. It was always my sister's age up. You know, my sister's, 3 or so years older than me. So I always wanted to hang around with older people.
Why do you think that was?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I liked older people.
Maybe Don can give us an insight into that
Probably.
a bit later, because he'll be able to help us out.
I saw what they were doing, and I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool, you know, because people my age...
But you were just 11, so didn't you want to sort of play with dolls?
I know.
I don't know if 11-years do that anymore nowadays, because things have changed so much, or at least play on your PlayStation or something.
I was not interested in dolls and stuff like that. I was interested in dolls for the hair, because I've always had a passion and a talent with hair. But apart from that, I didn't want to play with dolls and play with people my age. To me, they were boring. And I saw, like, even though people older than me, they weren't doing big things, but to me they were big and exciting. So, you know, I wanted to be involved with things like that. But I never knew that it was wrong, to be honest. I never knew that they were doing wrong things. So, you know, going to little parties with, well, I was 11, so going to parties with 13, 14-year-olds, to me, they were just having fun. Lights off, girls and boys, young girls and boys rubbing on each other and dancing and things like that. To me, there was nothing wrong with it. To me, it looked fun. So that's why I decided to, you know, get involved. But from
I don't know if you remember, in my day, when we were at school, we used to play kiss chase, but it was normally the boys that used to start it. And the girls used to run away from the boys. Literally, we did not want the boys near us. And it's like, things have just changed so much.
But you know what?
It's like...
That's where it starts from. when we're in primary school, well, the kids are in primary school, kiss chase and all this. There was one called another dirty one. I don't want to repeat it, but anyway, things like that. To them, it's just a joke, but that's where it begins. Because I don't know if the kids see something at home or they accidentally walk in and see their parents doing things or whatever, but it starts from there. The little kissy business, it starts there and then it starts to escalate. The kids want to, you know, explore more, they want to see more, they want to try more, if you understand what I mean. So yeah, that's how it all started. And because like you said, when I was in primary school, I used to play kiss chase all the time with the guys, but with the girls would be running away but giggling.
Oh no, we didn't.
With us,
I don't know if it was my parents that were quite strict, but I really did not want these boys near me.
Yeah, with us, we were
like,
giggling.
Get away from me.
And the guys, when they see they see we're running, but the fact that we're giggling shows that, you know, we're interested. We're showing a different kind of message. Yeah. So, you know, from then, things just started to just get worse. You know, after the party that I went to, from then I started to, because I was a dancer as well. So I started to meet different people.
What kind of dancer?
Not exotic dancing, but more of a dance hall, bashment, Jamaican music kind of dancing. That's the type of dancing that I was into. And because of that...
From age 11?
Yeah.
And that dance is quite sensual, isn't it?
Very. But it's the music, because those times, the music was bad, but it wasn't so deep like it is now. Today, that is ridiculous, but at that time, it wasn't so bad. So it was like, you know, to me, as I said, it was fun. I didn't see it as wrong. I didn't have any understanding. I was still young. I was a kid. So I thought, I'm just exploring adventure. I thought it was life. But obviously, in the end, things started to escalate and get worse.
Were you missing your dad at this point?
I was, but I didn't really think about him when I was out there. I wouldn't say I was thinking about him. I wouldn't say that he was the reason why I was doing the things I was doing. I would say it's more peer pressure. Okay. I saw someone else doing it, so I want to do it. You know, I saw other people, and people would do things with a smile on their face. On the outside, people would smile and laugh, and you would look and you would think that these people are happy. But we don't know what goes on behind closed doors and at home. Yeah. And this is what I was not seeing. I was seeing the outside. I was seeing how happy everyone was and how good things looked. But I was not seeing what was happening internally and at home. So I think this was mostly my problem. And things were just progressing, going worse after worse.
In what sense though? Because
like, for example,
you're already 11 and you're, I don't know what words to use.
That is nothing compared to the roads that I walked. From 12, I think when I was in year 7, I weren't so bad. I would listen to music and dance and stuff, but I weren't drinking at that time yet. You know, I went to secondary school. I was quiet because, you know, when you first start secondary school, you're kind of scared, but at the same time, you need to build a name for yourself, because if you don't build a name for yourself from year 7, everyone's gonna mock you until you reach year 11. So you need to establish your name. But with me, when I was in year 7, I was quiet. But then when I hit, at that time, I would let my mum do my hair. You know, I would wear my blazer to school and everything. I was good. But then when I hit the age, when I hit year 8, that was it. I went off the rails. I started to hang around with older people as I was. And these were even older people. They were smoking, drinking. I would go to people's areas, because I live in Tottenham, so I would go to other areas, hang around with boys, go home late, go home 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Where was your mum in all this though? Because
she was...
You were how old then at that time?
Year 8, so what, 13 or so? 13.
Because if my daughter
12,
was coming
13.
home at 3 in the morning,
at
the age 13, I'd be really distressed.
Exactly, and she was. This is the thing, my mum would not sleep until I got home. So I would come home at 3 a.m. and then she would say, Shelly, and I say, yes, mum. And then she would say, lock the door. So from she knows that I've come in, I've locked the door, she can sleep from then.
Did she not try to discipline you and say, look, you can't go out?
Definitely.
You need to be home at this time?
Definitely,
so
she tried. But when a young person wants to do something, they're gonna do it. It doesn't matter if they have to jump out the window, if they have to, I don't know, climb mount, they're gonna do it. That's just how it is, personally, with me anyway. If I wanted to do something, it does not matter.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I know there's some parents, that there are kids that want to do certain things, but the parents put their foot down and they just will, even if they have to lock them in the house, especially if they're 13. I don't know, let's put it over to the viewers, maybe they want to call and participate. So do you think, you know, once a young person's put this thing in their head that they're going to go out no matter what, can the parents stop them, or should the parents just let them go? You can give us a call on 020 7686 6300. Shelley, we're just going to go to a break and then we're going to come back to continue with her story, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? Okay. Join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Diary of a Wild Child. Now, Shelley, you got up to so many things when you were just very young.
Yes.
So you've told us already about the partying and the hanging around with older boys. Now, you actually lost your virginity at quite a young age as well, didn't you?
Yeah, when I was 13.
13.
13 years of age, I lost my virginity to a guy who I thought it was love, you know.
But you were just a child.
I know. That's why I said I thought.
Yeah.
That means at the time I thought it was love. I didn't have understanding. I was young. You know, I was a baby. I didn't know what it was. So, you know, just a few words for me was enough to have me on cloud 9.
But did you already know a lot about sex at that age?
Well, when I was in primary school, they did give us sex education in year 6. The last year of primary school, I don't know if they still do it today, but they would teach the children
they're
what to do.
planning to teach children about pornography. I was watching that on the TV the other day. There was a big debate about it.
Well, at that time, they were teaching sex education, so honestly, I'm not really surprised. So, yeah, after I lost my virginity, I think my attitude changed completely. I became rude. Nobody...
After you lost it, when it happened, did you feel, oh my gosh, I made it, or I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done it, or were you like, yeah, I'm glad I did it?
Well, for me, it was like I had already done it before, because I was in the parties dancing, and technically we were doing the act, but with clothes on. So to me, it wasn't even, I didn't feel no way. Yeah. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've just, to me, it was just like normal.
Let's just take this caller and see what they've got to say. Good evening.
Hi, Chrissy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you got an opinion about tonight's topic?
Yeah, I was just wanted to make a comment about what Shelley said about, you know, not coming in at all, because my son's, he was 13 at the time, and, you know, even though I had put down, like, rules, you know, for him, what time to come in, he would just come in any time. It didn't matter what I said to him, he would just do whatever he wanted to do. So, it's like, you know, sometimes the kids, it's not like they don't care, they just want to, you know, they might have other friends that can stay out later, and they just want to stay out later as well. They're not really bothered, like, what the parents or the guardians are going to say. So,
was the father around?
No, the father wasn't really showing any great interest, so I think it was, like, you know, part of an attention-seeking thing as well. But it just seemed like he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, and he wasn't really too bothered. He'd just say, oh, I'll say sorry when I get in and everything will be okay. So,
how did you feel as a mum, though, seeing that? Because you were obviously trying to discipline him, and you're probably quite worried. How did you feel, and how did you try and deal with it?
Well, I mean, at the beginning I used to get really upset and frustrated, and I used to try different things all the time, and I noticed that when I would, like, you know, always moan, like, where are you coming from, and blah, 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 he wouldn't really be listening. So, like, sometimes he'd come in and he'd just say good evening, and I'd just say good evening, and that was it. And sometimes a different approach would get a different reaction. So it's just learning, just changing things up, you know, because sometimes, you know, kids think that they know what you're going to do or what you're going to say, so you have to continue to keep changing things so you can't be predictable to them. But, you know, you're worried inside, but you can't, you know, show all the time that you're worried, because, you know.
How old's your son now?
Well, he's improving. He's coming in on time. He's you know, he comes in what time he's supposed to come in, and he's improving.
How old is he?
Well, he's 14 now.
Oh, he's 14. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Okay.
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. I think we have another caller, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, is caller there? Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hello, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm all right, you?
I'm good, thanks. So, you had an opinion about the topic for tonight?
Yes, another thing, I agree. She'll just say that when you're coming up, when you want to do something, whatever they say to you, if you want to do it, you just go on to do it. Because I was that sort of like a child to my parents. My parents were very strict, they're African parents.
Yeah.
Whatever they do, when I want to go out, I'll go out, even when they ground me, until when I had enough of it. You know? So I just agree with her when she said,
so you would still
have enough of it before you can stop.
So you would still go out anyway?
Yeah, whatever they want to do, even if they ground me, immediately after that, I will still go out.
I think parents have a hard job though, because to be honest, parents have a very hard job because it's very hard to control some children. But I think with me, if I tried to do that, my dad, I don't know, I think my dad would either beaten me or throw me out, one of the two, because he wouldn't have stood for it. I know that.
But that's the same thing. My parents were very strict.
Yeah.
But because it's in me, I want to do it, they will ground me, they will beat me. You know, African parents, it's like they'll ground you, they'll beat you, they'll do everything.
Yeah.
But still, yes.
Still.
Because inside you want that, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, until you had enough of it.
Yeah. Didn't you feel bad though?
Sorry?
Did you feel bad disobeying them?
Yeah, you feel afterwards, when you go a bit older, that you start to think, oh my God, why did I do that?
Yeah, I regret a lot of things when I was a teenager as well. Okay, thank you so much for your call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
And there was something the first caller said. She said something about changing the approach. I think after a while, that's what my mum started to do. When I started to get a bit older, 15, 16, that's when she started to say, she said to me, you know what? Do whatever you're going to do, but one day you're going to change. And she would not bother me anymore. She wouldn't.
Okay, they've got a few pictures of you on the screen here. These were in your party days. We got any more? Okay. So, Shelley, you actually, oh gosh. Now, is this like the usual attire that you used to wear?
Yeah.
How old are you there?
Between 15 and 17, those pictures. That one, I think I was like 16. Young, but I looked so old, and that club that I was inside was for over 21-year-olds. So I was able to dress myself in ways and show certain parts of my body.
Did this happen after you slept with someone?
No, I had just woken up. I went out the night before, and I just woken up, and I decided to take pictures. Yeah, I was wild, terribly wild.
Now, you said you changed after you lost your virginity. In what way? You said you didn't care anymore.
I just didn't care about what anybody had to say. I was rude. I didn't have no respect for anyone that was older than me, teachers. I had a mentor when I was in school. So I had a mentor. I had a person that he would take me out of lessons and speak to me and things like that. But even that still didn't work. Like, I still went out there, still getting arrested, fighting people on the streets, robbing people.
Hold on. You got arrested?
Yes.
You used to fight people?
I got arrested like more than 5 times.
For what?
For robbery, shoplifting, battery, fighting, loads of things.
But when did it escalate to that though? Because before it was just sort of the boys and the club scene and everything. So why did you feel the need to? Was it peer pressure again, or was it just something inside you?
Personally, I didn't even think I would get arrested. I think that's with everyone, every young person. When they're out there doing the stuff, you don't think, oh, I'm going to get arrested. You know that it's possible, but you always switch your mind. You just blank out the idea that you'll get arrested. Like when I would go out to steal clothing, for example, because I didn't have money. And my mum, as I said, we weren't the richest family. So she couldn't give me everything I wanted. And because I wanted to keep up the appearance of an adult, of a big girl, I needed certain clothing. And if I tell my mum to buy me the things that I was wearing, she's not going to go out and buy it for me. So it's like I had to make a way.
You took matters into your own hands, didn't
Exactly. You? And I would go to shops and take baskets and fill it with clothes and carry it out, go to somewhere else, take another basket, and just, I was still clothing. And there were times that I did get caught, but I didn't think that I would get caught because there were times that I got away with it. So when you're doing things, well, when the young people and people in general are doing things, they don't think of consequences. They just think of the good side of it. Okay, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get the things that I need and etc. But they don't think, okay, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I do that, like for example, with my virginity, I didn't think of the future. I didn't think it was important. So I just did it anyway. And even that led to me getting pregnant when I was 15 and I had an abortion.
15?
Yeah, I got pregnant when I was 15.
Same guy or someone else?
Same guy, yeah. and I had an abortion, and this led to a lot of...
How did you feel after the abortion?
Emotionally distraught. Like I got to a point where I said, I don't care about life, I don't care about anything, I'm gonna do what I have to do. If I have to just sleep around, do whatever. I just said, you know what, forget it. I would drink heavily. I would drink Smirnoff, all these strong spirit drinks that adults would sip. I would drink as if it was water. I was heavily addicted to alcohol, because alcohol would just take my mind off of the bad things. Alcohol will make me think, you know, I'm invincible. And those were the times I would get arrested the most. When I was under liquor, that's when I would get arrested. I would smoke cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes every day, 2 boxes a day, if possible.
Maybe youngsters looking at you and, you know, back then, they would maybe think, oh, she's got it all. She's got the nice clothes.
Yeah.
She's got the attention of all the boys.
Yeah.
She looks happy. But how were you feeling inside when all this was happening?
At the time, I didn't realise that I was depressed. I didn't realise that I was insecure, because I had to show my body parts. I had to smoke weed. I had to drink alcohol in order to show that invincible person. But I didn't realise, I didn't see it like that. I didn't see it as I was using the influence of all the alcohol and stuff to cover up who I truly was. Inside of myself, I was depressed. Like, I was down. I didn't believe in myself. I hated myself, because I'd seen certain, like, sometimes I would sit down and I would just think, and when I think about the things that I had done, it's like, I thought, how me? I didn't think that I was capable of those things. Looking back at when I was young, when I was a kid, I was good. Well, before the age of 10, I was good. So it was like...
Well, someone's going to help us to dissect all of this, because we've got a psychologist that's going to come on after the break. That's Don, and you know, he's been listening to everything that Shelley's been telling us. And I'd like to get an understanding of, you know, why perhaps someone that had a good upbringing, okay, I know your dad left and everything, but you know, why you went down that road in the first place, perhaps. So join us after the break, and we're going to be hearing what he's got to say to us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
We have our psychologist, Don Butler, with us, and he's going to be helping us understand what's going on here, because I really sympathise with parents. Welcome, Don, by the way. I really sympathise with parents here, because they must go through hell sometimes when they're really trying their best to help their children and discipline them, and you know, they set certain boundaries and the kids just don't respect that. What did you think of what Shelley was saying?
Well, I was interested in when you both said, you know, well, I'm not going to do what my parents are going to say, and then you said, but you know, I wouldn't allow my child to do that. And I think that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Because I do think, you know, if you've got good, strong parenting, parents will put down boundaries, and some children will respect those boundaries, and the parents will manage that situation. But I also agree with you, there are times when I think the boundaries don't work and the child isn't respecting the parent, and the child will get away with all sorts of things that will think, my gosh, that's, you know, that's incredible. But I think, you know, you do need to have good parenting. You do need to have firm boundaries. If they're not there, it is going to be a problem. You're obviously able to win the battle with your mum for whatever reason. And that's, you know, I think that's the way it happened in your life. But it does seem to me that Shelley's father being absent does perhaps play a bigger role in the story.
Even though she didn't think...
Even though she didn't think, perhaps some of that's more unconscious, really. And from listening to your story, I do hear a lot of anger. It sounds like you weren't really happy when you were doing all these things, were you?
No.
You were angry. Yeah. You were acting things out. And I do, you know, it does occur to me that perhaps when your father left, that was the end of your childhood, really. Yeah. And that was forced on you. And I think a lot of people who come from families where there's a divorce, you'll often hear the same thing, which is, that felt the end of my childhood when my parents broke up. That's kind of the end of that safety net that children have when one parent suddenly goes. And I think for Shelley to suddenly be without a father that she adored, there is going to be a reaction. And I think it sounds to me like you were pretty angry, really. You're probably more angry with your father than you realise, and you started to do all of these adult things, you know. having sex, drinking, taking drugs, wearing clothes that weren't really appropriate for someone of your age. And it wasn't making you happy, so it sounds to me like really it was an acting out of something. And your dad wasn't there to say to you, hey, don't do that. Maybe you were trying to, you know, to gain his attention. Well, if I act like an adult, perhaps, you know, my dad will come home.
Because during the break I was asking Shelley, would you have done that if your dad had been around? And you said probably not.
No, my dad was strict.
Well, exactly. So that's pretty clear then, isn't it? So if had your father stayed, it's very unlikely that those things would have happened. So it seems pretty clear to me it was a form of acting out, a response to your father leaving. Unfortunately, it's your poor mum who has to take all the flack, which is often the way when it's a single parent. When it's, you know, the mother's left behind, she has to take all of that flack. But I mean, eventually, obviously, you did turn things round. There came a point, because we can see you're here now, and you've obviously have turned things round. And I know we spoke earlier, and you've got plans for the future.
Definitely.
And that's, you know, those are all really important things, I think.
And Don, why do you think she continued with that in that lifestyle? Because obviously she said that she was, and you said you were, you know, influenced by friends and stuff. But the fact that she wasn't happy, but she still carried on. So she, for example, she lost her virginity to that guy, but then she carried on sleeping with him afterwards. So why do people do that, even though they know that something's destructive for them, and they don't feel good about it? They feel maybe guilty afterwards. It doesn't make them feel good. They feel depressed. Why do people still continue with that behaviour?
I don't think she knew at that point. I think she probably didn't realise until she came through it and looked back on it. I think we'll often look back on periods of our lives and things that we've done and think, gosh, what was going on there? Why was I doing that? You're nodding. I assume at the time you didn't really know. And you were still confused and angry. So I would imagine it would have taken Shelley a few years to work through some of that anger, so through some of that confusion. Eventually there comes a point where, well, you can only bang your head against the wall for so long. And perhaps there did come a point, perhaps you can tell us, when maybe you decided that you'd had enough of this and you realised it wasn't doing you any good. Was there a particular time when that happened?
When I hit the age of 17, I looked at myself and I thought, you know what, this is unnecessary. I don't need to be doing the things that I'm doing.
Did anything happen to make you sort of think about your life then, or was it just one day?
It's just, there were times where I would take to reflect. I'll sit down and I'll just think about certain things. Even though I would think I didn't have the strength to actually stop the things that I was doing. Like, for example, I would smoke, and to smoke, it doesn't feel good. But for some reason in my mind, I still had the habit of, I need a cigarette. It was like more of a habit kind of a thing. So I didn't really realise, I couldn't stop what I was doing for some reason. So I hit 17 and perfect timing, I met somebody who was attending a youth group that specialised in helping young people who are going through any kind of problem that they could be facing, from family problems, you know, drug addictions, the list goes on. So I met the person in college and they started to speak to me and they invited my friend. But to be honest, when I thought about changing my life and things like that, a part of me liked it, a part of me didn't. There were certain things that, there was good moments, little pleasure moments that I would have that was keeping me latched onto the past. But then there were moments that I thought, I need to stop this, I can't do this kind of a thing. So there was a conflict inside of me, the two sides. So eventually he spoke to me as well, and he said, okay, you know what, just come, give it a try. So I came, I went to the help centre, and I saw other young people. There was a person in particular that was telling their story. There was, on the projector, there was a video of somebody that was telling their story about how they changed. And, you know, they had pictures of before and after. And I thought, wow, change is possible. But I couldn't bring myself to actually say, I'm going to do this kind of a thing. So after a few weeks or so of going to the help centre, attending the meetings, it started to become reality. Change began. I started to think, yes, I can do this. So I started to do things. I started to get rid of things. I was throwing things away, throwing clothes away, cutting off friends. But furthermore, I didn't really have to tell friends that, okay, look, now I'm changing my life, I don't want to talk to you anymore. They just saw that they would call me for things and I weren't interested anymore. They would call me and say to me, come, let's go raving. I'd be like, oh no, I don't really want to do that. They would call me and say, oh, I've got a bit of weed, let's smoke, you know, sit down in my house and smoke and have a laugh. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So gradually I just started to let things go. I started to throw things away. I just started to let things go, and then eventually, and also speaking to people, seeing people around me that made change possible in their own lives as well, along with help. Seeing that helped me to say, you know what, I can do this.
But didn't your mum like try to get you to change though?
She did.
So this is quite interesting. So how come sometimes when a parent speaks, we don't sort of listen? As youngsters, we don't really listen, and we don't maybe identify with what they're saying. But then when it's someone our age, or like a youth group, for example, why do you think that is?
Well, I think without being critical of Shelley's mum, because I don't want to be, I always say, let's not blame people, let's just try and understand. And Shelley's mum was obviously in a difficult situation. But obviously in this story, it seems pretty clear that your mum wasn't able to help. I'm sure she tried, but again, this may sound unpleasant to an extent, but she was part of the problem in terms of, you know, your father had left, you're left with your mum. So, you know, her mum really was part of that scenario that Shelley was fighting against. So, but it sounds to me like you were then able to go and find some positivity somewhere else. And when you joined that group, I'm sorry, what was it called again?
The Victory Youth Group.
Yeah, that gave you some context, it sounded like to me. You were able to see that you're not the only one, and you were able to find peers and other people who had similar stories. Obviously, by that point, it seems pretty clear to me that Shelley had reached a decision that this wasn't so great, it wasn't doing you any good. So, by virtue of getting to that point in your mind, then something appears that you need. And, you know, the world can be marvellous, that sometimes things will happen like that. Just when we need something that will appear. Sounds to me like you'd already reached the decision that this isn't doing me any good anymore. I need something different. And then you were able to find it, it appeared. You met people who put your story into context. I'm not the only person. Other people are changing their lives around. I can see that I can change my life around as well. And that obviously appealed to you, I would say.
Yeah.
That's a big thing when sometimes when a person feels that they are alone in something, and they think, I'm the only one that feels this way, I'm the only one that's going through this, I can't talk to anyone because they wouldn't understand. But there's always someone that's been through the same thing or worse that will understand you, because that was the same when I had my problems. I never thought that anyone would be able to understand what I was going through until I opened up and spoke to someone. So when you are in that state, it's very difficult to actually talk to anyone. Because in my case, for example, I thought if I speak to anyone about the depression and how I was feeling, they're going to think I'm mad and they're not going to want to hang around with me. And that. So I didn't tell friends. I just told my best friend when I was at uni. But I didn't tell anyone else because I thought I don't want them to isolate themselves to me. I want to have friends around me. And that's what people do.
And the other thing is, we do need positive role models, particularly children. And teenagers in particular generally won't look to their parents to be their positive role models. And I think that's part of growing up, isn't it? It's finding your own role models, people who are going to offer you something positive. Unfortunately for Shelley, earlier on, she found a lot of negative role models who weren't being very helpful, but then eventually you were able to find some positive role models. And, you know, and to be able to seize that and realise that's what you needed, I think worked really well for you. And I think it was brave of you to be able to make those decisions on your own as well. But thankfully there were some people there to help you to turn things around.
I didn't, personally at the time, I didn't really think that my parents could help me. I didn't think that they had gone through what I had gone through. So that's why I wanted to receive help from friends, because obviously we were all in the same boat. I could see that we were practically doing exactly the same thing. We were all in the same circle. So I thought, okay, this person can relate to me. So anytime I was going through something, I would speak to people rather than going to my mum, even though my mum should be the one I should go to first. I just thought she couldn't relate, really.
Okay, we're going to go to a quick break and then we're going to come back because we've got a video. Actually was invited out by this particular youth group and we're going to watch the video after this break.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at the youth group that helped Shelley. Hi everyone, today we've been invited to go to Thorpe Park with a youth group called the VYG Victory Youth Group. Now they're a noisy bunch. This youth group is based all over England and we're going to have a really fun time, aren't we, Excel?
Oh yes we are, I'm looking forward to it.
So let's hear them make some noise!
We're laughing at someone else's demise.
The great thing about today is I'm going to spend time with my brothers and sisters from the VYG and we're going to have fun together. That's the most important thing.
Maybe a few people throwing up, but I'm with my VYG family, so I'm sure we're going to have a great time.
Can anyone join?
Anyone can join, between 14 to 25.
I'm over 25, is that okay to still come along?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh my gosh! So Romeo, you finally made it?
Yes.
So you ran all the way here, right?
No.
So we finally arrived at Thorpe Park. It's a gorgeous day. We're really lucky with the weather, aren't we? Yeah. Now we did come with around 300 young people and we've lost every single one of them. So we're going to go and find them and interview them and see what they're getting up to as well and maybe catch a few of the rides ourselves. Barbara, you said you're not going to go on any rides?
Not those ones you can see from here because they're far too scary for me, but I will try one of them on soft, gentle.
She says she's not going to get on any rides, but I'm going to make sure she does and we're going to film it as well.
I don't think
So are you scared?
No, the scarier the better for me.
My heart was here, my body was there.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh, look, I'm shaking.
If you're not a part of the VYG, you're missing out big time because it was a massive experience. It was great. Ain't that right, guys? Yes, it is.
I was there. It was brilliant.
Really? Was it?
Yeah.
And how do you find doing the dancing and the singing? Does it make you sort of like enjoy the group more? What's your favourite part of the group?
My favourite part is just being with everyone and like showing what I've got basically, yeah.
I'm here with Pastor Miguel, that is the leader of this VYG youth group in the whole of the UK. So how do you manage to get such a large crowd of youth together, so friendly, so well behaved?
Well, whenever we are together, it's like a family. There's always something positive about us that binds us together.
Before coming to the VYG, I was a total failure. You know, I was just another youth selling drugs on the streets, no future ahead of me. You know, total complete failure, you know. Totally depressed, inside I was messed up, stressed and everything. But I can tell you that coming to the VYG changed my life. And today I can stand here with a genuine smile on my face because now I got a future, thanks to the VYG.
Tell us a bit more about the VYG, what do you do and how do you get them motivated?
It's a way to get young people to change their lives, right? Because most young people we see today, they have a lot of problems, a lot of issues, home, family problems, anger problems, abuse. And our message of appeal is to change their lives in a positive way.
And if people want to join the VYG, can anyone join? And how do they join if they want to?
Anyone from 14 to 23-year-old. I mean, sometimes 24, 25. And if you want to join us, you can just log on our website, which is victoryofgroup.co.uk, or you can just email us info@victoryofgroup.co.uk, or just join us in the brunch every Sunday 1:30.
VYG loves Chrissy B. 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 VYG loves Chrissy B.
So Shelley, it looks like great fun, but that's not the only kind of stuff you guys do, is it?
No.
It's not just about outings and what else do you have there that helps young people?
There are advisors that are there that have one-to-ones with people, because sometimes people want someone to speak to and they want to know that it's confidential. So there are advisors that are there. We have meetings every week, Wednesdays at 6 o'clock in the evening, and on Sundays at 1:30. Yeah, we have outings, you know, we have our fun times, but there's also serious times where people can speak.
It just shows that, you know, young people can be in a large group and be sensible and have fun. It's not all about, like, because sometimes you sort of see kids together and they're just up to no good. But it is possible, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if that's what people want, then, you know, it's good that that's there. I mean, you can join all different sorts of groups, but you obviously needed to find something more positive in your life, and you did. And it's great that that's there.
And the actual opening up, do you find sort of in your work, Don, that it's hard sometimes initially for people to open up?
I think people sometimes need time for themselves, to work it out for themselves. You know, you went through what you were going through over a period of, what, 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. So yes, you know, sometimes it is about time, and it will take people a while to realise that they need something different. Things don't always happen overnight, but it's good to know that they can happen. You know, positive things can happen, even though, they don't always, you know, it doesn't always come along immediately. But if the will is there, well, it's good.
Now, Shelley, what would you say to maybe a young person that's perhaps has a similar lifestyle to what you had before, and they don't like it, and they think, oh, I don't think I can leave this behind. I can't, like you said, I can't stop smoking. I can't stop this lifestyle. Or it's not worth it now because I've done it all anyway. I'm tarnished. That's how some people think. Might as well just carry on. What would you say to them?
I would say everything begins in your mind, because you can have plenty of people. Because me, for example, I was getting arrested. So I had social workers. I had my mentor in school. I had teachers. I had people who wanted to help me. But because inside of my mind, it hadn't clicked yet. I hadn't decided that, okay, I'm going to change. So this is why it didn't actually happen. So I would say, first of all, you need to decide within yourself to change. And when you decide within yourself, then the rest, you know, will work. You speak to people, open up about things that are hidden. And yeah, from then you'll begin to change. But if you don't change your mind first, you can speak to hundreds and thousands of people. It would help, but it wouldn't bring that total transformation. It starts from inside. Everything that's inside needs to come out, and you'll be able to change.
And I think that's the key, because once you do open up to someone, I mean, that helps so much, because when things are inside and when everything's buried deep and everything's hidden, it kind of like seems even worse than what it actually is sometimes. But as soon as you start to talk to someone that understands you, that can identify what you're saying, and even if they don't know exactly what you're going through, but they're just there to listen to you and to be able to advise you, that's where the change starts to happen. That's how it happened for me as well. The longer I kept it inside, the worse it was getting for me. But as soon as I sat down with someone, I opened up about what I was going through, I was like, okay, at least someone else knows now I can start, I've got help finally for this problem.
I think that's absolutely key. I mean, if someone in Shelley's position realises she's not happy, she needs to find someone to talk to, whether it's just a friend initially or a professional, a therapist, someone who can really help. But it is really key, as you say, to not just swallow it all yourself. You need to be able to express what's going on and get some help, really. Definitely. And you were able to, so. Yeah.
And there are always people that are willing to help you. We've got Shelley tonight. I'm sure you'll be willing to help anyone. Maybe that will contact you. Don as well, professional that can help people. I can help you as well. I've been through quite a lot in my life, and you know, I welcome any emails, and I promise to answer them all personally. Chris@chrissybshow.tv. But we have reached the end of the program for today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Shelley.
No worries.
Thank you so much for your expert advice. And we'll be back again on Friday. We're going to be speaking about 10 ways to change your man into a grump. So we're going to have some 10 things that we're going to be talking about that make men get them really angry, basically. So that should be an interesting one. And I'd love to get your opinions about it as well. And if you want more information about this program, you can go to the website chrissybshow.tv. See you again next time. Bye-bye for now.
Hi, Chris. Hi.
Hiya.
Welcome to Peckham Help Centre.
Thank you.
The home of the new help centre at the home.
So I've come down to Peckham today to check out an ongoing project, which is a youth centre in this building called the Youth
Sorry.
This is going to be our new youth group. It's under construction.
Centre.
Sorry.